Welcome back to the Model 3 Man channel, and this is the 6th in our series on Tesla apps, and this is the one I've been dreading and you've been waiting for. I say dreading simply because I know how much of an in-depth app it actually is and how much research and experimenting you actually need to put into it. I want to start off by giving credit to Mike from Frugal Tesla Guy. It's another YouTube channel. Mike puts a lot of work into his channel, and he has 2 episodes, deep dive into the Stats app. But what makes his unique is that he actually has interviews with Ramin, who's the developer of the app. He asks Ramin questions. So when you finish watching my video, you could do far worse than jump across to the links that I've placed in the description below. I know it's a 2-year-old interview, but nevertheless, it is with the developer, and it's definitely worth hearing his insights into what caused him to make the app and some of the features in it. So before we get into it, I do want to mention, and it's a disclaimer of course, that I did not pay for the app myself. I actually reached out to him. He was kind enough to give me the app in order to review it with no preconditions on whether it would be a positive or a negative review. And he was also very, very helpful in terms of forwarding me information and background to the app and a lot of links that helped me in my preparation. Let me say a few things about the app, Stats for Tesla. First of all, it has to be, beyond any doubt, the best and the most in-depth and the most well-designed and constructed app for Tesla vehicles that I've ever come across. So here's a spoiler alert. I'm gonna like this app. In fact, I already love it. I was terrified of it, but the more I've looked into it and the more I researched it in preparation for this video, the more I began to respect what Ramin had put into the app. In Canada, that costs us about $65, and of course it's less in the US. You can see the real price here. It is worth every penny. I'm just glad that it's not a subscription-based model where to get all the good stuff, you're going to pay month after month after year. It's a one-off price, and it is completely worth it. If you're looking for one Tesla app that can do it all, don't look any further. Let me mention that there are 2 widgets that you can use to get a quick view of what's going on with your car. And the second thing is, yes, it also has a watch app. And I've got that linked on my watch face right now. I want to give you an overview of the Stats app. Look, the word stats gives it away. When I was at university, I used to hate a class called statistics. I didn't do well. Perhaps that explains some of the apprehension I had as I came to this app to look at it and to review it. And I figured maybe this is not the app for me. But trust me, folks, this is easily understandable. Just because it has so many features and tools and settings does not mean it's difficult to understand or difficult to use. Quite the opposite. What I want to do today is to take a structured walk through the app. Let me just launch the app first of all. So there it is, Stats, and I'm going to put it onto the first of the screens. That one there, you can see it on the side here. That is the first of 6 tabs. So we have a tab for charging and for battery related issues. We have a tab that talks about all of the details and the statistics about your Tesla and my Tesla. And then number 3, we have a tab that compares our car to the fleet out there, to all of the folks who are using the Stats app and who've agreed to share. And let me say this, if you get the app, please go into the settings and enable the sharing of your metadata. The data that you allow to be shared joins hundreds of thousands of other users, and it gives us a more accurate comparison between how our car is doing and how the rest of the Tesla fleet out there are doing. Then the 4th tab are just regular settings that you're used to. Honk the horn, flash the lights, lock the car, vent the windows, and so on. Those are all on the 4th tab, including climate control, heating the car, and getting it ready for that trip in the morning. Tab number 5, settings. Man, I don't think I've ever gone into a settings that was as comprehensive as the one that we'll find here. And then finally, on tab number 6, useful links. Links to Tesla roadside assistance, links to our very own Trevor Page, Tesla Owners Online, but lots of others. Those are the 6 tabs that constitute the Stats app. We're going to go from number 1 through to number 6. I'm going to try and keep this shorter. Look, the reality is there is a lot in the app, so I want to do justice to the app and share exactly what it can do. One additional disclaimer: I only installed and set up and activated the app 3 days ago, which is why I realized I couldn't give a review that evening. The app had no data in it. So for the last 3 days, I've been driving, I've been visiting superchargers just to get some data into the app. There are still areas that show very little data because we haven't had a chance to build it up. By the way, in trying to build up some kilometers and get some supercharging under the belt, I went out first to Squamish, and then I went down to Surrey. When I got to Squamish, and I noticed some cars coming along that said "zero car" emblazoned on the side. And there were 2 of them, and they were kind of moving and parking in different places. And then I saw that there was a big camera rig. So obviously they were out creating something, perhaps an ad for the zero car. Tab number 1, charging and battery related information. Now you can move from tab to tab just by sliding, as you can see me doing here. I'm going to go back to the first tab, or you can just tap on the tabs up at the top and exactly the same thing will happen. It tells me right now that Red Dragon has 77%. That tiny little orange arrow, which I can move, will move in 5% increments. I charge up to 85%. So you can slide and you can set your own charge. Just below, it tells me that I added 72 kilometers of range, which was 10.58 kilowatt hours. The cost $1.74. Now that was based upon my entering the approximate cost of what a supercharger in British Columbia actually charges. Now why that's so difficult is because in BC, we don't charge by kilowatt hour. We are charged by the time we are connected and charging. If it's below a 60 kilowatt charge rate, we get charged on tier 1. If it's above that, we're charged on tier 2. I took an average and I entered it into the settings, and I'll show you how to do that later on. Down below, estimated range and rated range. Now, quick definition here. Rated range is what Tesla says we should get. It's what is up at the top next to your battery icon on your touchscreen. Estimated range, the first little circle here, that is based upon how efficiently you drive. That will estimate a range. Now you can see here, 372 kilometers rated, but the app estimates that I will get 348 kilometers on the road. Given all the hills we have in North Vancouver, and that's actually pretty good, and I'm quite happy with that. Now down below, it says driving efficiency, 93%. Driving efficiency is how well you do compared to Tesla's rated prediction. So if it says you'll get 348K, and you actually get 348K, your efficiency is 100%. If you got 380 kilometers, and the rated range was 350, well, you might be on 110%. Yesterday, I was on 112% when I went to Squamish. Liters per 100K, well, that's the equivalent if I were using a car and using liters of gas. I'd only be using 2.2 liters for 100 kilometers. Of course, that doesn't happen with gas cars. That is my kilometers per liter equivalent. So I'm using the equivalent of only 2.2 liters to do 100 kilometers of traveling. That's really good. By the way, when we're actually at the station and we're charging, those two circles on the bottom change. And the first one tells me how long I've got before charging is completed. And the one to its right tells me the speed or the rate. So it's the charging rate. Let's move to the second tab, details or stats about my car. Now, most of the data here is in the form of charts. The first of the charts deals with the charging that we've done. So for example, you can see here that the dates are the 10th of May, the 11th, and the 11th, and the 12th. Now, there's some pretty cool features here. I'm on the daily tab. So how many kilometers did I add today, this morning? Tap it. 72.42. That's how many effective kilometers were added when I charged. On the 10th of the 5th, it was 23. And as you tap each one, it shows you how many kilometers were added at that particular charge. Let's go to cost. Cost me $1.50, $2, $1.74. Go to the third tab, kilowatt hours added. Again, if I tap, 10.58 kilowatt hours added in Surrey yesterday. 12.15 kilowatt hours added when I was in Squamish. And finally, this is the one that gets us excited, savings. Today, I saved $9.94. Over the last few days, collectively, I've saved 3, 8 is 11, and 11 is 22, and 9 is 30. Call it 30. $30 in all the travels that I've made. Now, what do I base that on? Well, in the settings that we'll come to, it asks you to pick a car, either the car that you replaced when you bought your electric car. In my case, I've simply taken a mid-sized sedan, 4-door, with a good liters per 100K rating. I'm trying to be fair here. And based on that, I've saved literally $30 over 3 days. Driving efficiency, second chart. By the way, if you tap on the little letter I at the top, it tells you, hint, to delete a record, tap and hold on the bar you want to delete. To change the cost of a charging session, maybe you went to one of these third-party chargers, Green Lots or one of the others, and there's a different charge rate and you had to pay. Well, you can just hold your finger on the bar and you can change the rate. If I want to share or export this graph, I can tap on the export button and say, share the graph image. Or export the data into a comma-separated value CSV file, which you can use in Excel or Numbers if you're a Mac person. But number 2, chart number 2, driving efficiency. It's a comparison of how well you have done in comparison to the Tesla rating, which of course is what they consider the average driver will do. At the moment, my average is 103%. Says it there. That, of course, is a mixture of yesterday's visit to Squamish and today's visit to Surrey. Yesterday I did better, today I did worse, and so the average is 103. Again, I can share that screen. I can tap on the little icon on the top right. I can see efficiency versus outside temperature. And of course, what that shows us is that the colder it is, the lower the efficiency of our use of the battery. Let's move up. This chart says how many kilometers I've driven each day. Each blue dot represents a different day and the number of kilometers. On the first day, there were no kilometers driven. Yesterday, I drove 137K on a return trip. Today, it was a 68 return trip. So just an interesting way of being able to see how much you drove each day. If you are able to claim back for mileage, well, this is an easy way. And of course, you can tap on the export button and you can export the data, or you can share the graph image as well. Moving up, charge rate versus state of charge. Your charging speed will drop as the battery reaches a higher percentage. There's 2 ways you can look at it: number of kilometers relative to the percentage of the battery, and the number of kilometers relative to time. And you can go back to previous days. That's the purpose of those 2 arrows. Move forward or move back in time, you can do that as well. Battery health, I think, is the one that all of us are going to want this app for. As we own the vehicle for longer, and I've got, what is it? Well, we're coming up to the month of June. June the 3rd, is the 3rd anniversary of me owning Red Dragon, of Janine and I owning Red Dragon, I should say. I know that there is going to be some battery degradation. I will promise you that the range will not be the same as the day that I took possession of the car. So right now, there's only 2 different days, and I've got a dot just above 480, 482, you could say. Then I've got a dot on the right, little orange dot, which is about 485. And I used to have 498. But after a while, as you can see in this graphic here, there are lots and lots of data points. And they're all over the place, and we refer to that in graphing terms as noise. So this line plotted through the noise indicates the state of your battery, and it shows exactly how your battery is performing over time. So it's really important. And I mean, that one alone can alert you to the fact that your battery has a serious problem if you find that you are way below what the rest of the Tesla fleet out there is. You need to take your car in to have the battery checked. Finally, phantom drain. Phantom drain. Now, phantom drain is very, very simple. It's the fact that when you go to sleep and your car is at 350 kilometers and you wake up and find it's down at 340 or 337, you wonder, what the heck happened to my mileage? How did it all drain away overnight? Phantom drain is just the term we use to describe that normal loss of charge from a battery. You say, well, what is it that causes that? Tons of things. Number 1, the recharging of your 12-volt battery. Number 2, putting your car on sentry mode. If the camera is running all the time, it's also recording all the time. Because the minute a human steps into range, it provides 5 minutes before that event and 5 minutes after it. So, in other words, it's constantly capturing through all of the cameras and recording it. You contacting the car, waking up the car all the time, that's going to drain some of the power. There are many other things that do it as well. So phantom drain is displayed in this chart over here. If I tapped on today's, it says 3.6 kilometers has been lost over 4.9 hours. So at the moment, these bar charts are showing me the range in kilometers that I've lost. The second tab will put me on the duration. And that is, I lost 3.6 over almost 5 hours. And in that one there, I lost 14 kilometers over 17 hours. I'm more interested in the rate. So let me go across to the rate. That's number of kilometers per hour. That's the rate. And if I look at today, it's 0.73. Yesterday was 2.19. That's not good. 0.81, 0.31. The average for a Model 3 owner, where you do have some sentry mode use and you contact your car a few times, should be roughly 0.5 of a kilometer per hour. And that would be kind of normal. And this chart is linked to the location map down below, so that you can see if I tap here on the toll graph, it shows that I was near Guildford Town Centre, and of course that's in Surrey. And if I go to yesterday, that was all lost in my tent in the Dragon Cave. So that's the second tab across the top. Number 3, and this third tab here is an important one because it compares your car with the rest of the Tesla fleet of users of the Stats app who've allowed their data to be shared. And let's hope that number grows over time into many, many thousands. But it still provides a very effective way. If I look at the histogram of efficiency, it says Red Dragon's efficiency is better than 88% of users. Is that because I drive like an old man? No, I actually put my foot down quite a bit. But I am conscious of not going too fast. I don't want to get any speed fines. I'm conscious of wind resistance at higher speeds. And locally, I'm driving around without any kind of time constraint. So I do moderate the way I drive. So that's it. Good news for me. I'm better than 88% of you guys. But use that to see how your driving habits compare to others. Second chart, histogram of the phantom drain rate. across users. Now, it has not yet gathered enough data to give me a vertical green dotted line and show me where I fit here. But you can see that for most Model 3 owners, and if you look across the top, there's Model S, Model X, Model 3, and Model Y. I'm, for obvious reasons, a Model 3 owner, and I'm only interested in the graph on my car at this point. Most people have between 0 and 0.8. The majority of Tesla Model 3 owners fall in that phantom drain zone. Down below, histograms of firmware. Well, this is an interesting one. The big, tall blue one that has well over 80%, 79.5. That means the majority of Model 3 owners are on this particular software version, which is 2021.4.15. There's an interesting one across there, 2021.4.15.6, that has 17% of users on it. So I guess that's the next update that is coming for me, and I should be watching out for an update very shortly. That's pretty cool. I really like this. Tap on the info button. This chart shows the distribution of Tesla firmware versions among users. Daily average efficiency across users. We all want to live in a climate where the temperature is just high enough for us still to be comfortable and for our cars to operate at peak average efficiency all day long. I guess we're talking about California. So moving on to tab number 4, and here we're looking at the controls. Nothing different here with one or two exceptions. So down the bottom we have location, and what's interesting is you notice that down at the bottom it says share car location. So you could just quickly tap that and message it off or email it off to someone. There we go. I can send it via text message, email, I can airdrop it, whatever I want to do. And I can just tap Janine's face and it would automatically send it to her so she knows how far I am from home. Interesting. Very nice. Let's go from the top. Climate. I can set the climate. I can, for example, as I'm going to do now, turn it on. Of course, it has to wake up the car, so there's always going to be that little bit of lag time. So I'm just waking up the sleeping cat. Interesting. There we go. It's just woken up, and these are the widgets, folks. Look at that. That is so useful. So the top widget just gives you, it's just your home data. It gives me inside temperature in the car, outside temperature in the air, and it tells me my percentage is 77, and that will get me 372 Ks of rated range, according to Tesla. And then the one below it, the stats widget gives me honk the horn, open the charge port, open the front, open the trunk, turn on climate, lock the car, unlock the car. And that is exactly what these do right here in the middle of the page. Now, just interesting at the top here, what if I wanted to heat one of the seats? So I'm just going to turn the heat up. Let's put the heat on 24. And there it comes. So I turn it to 24. It gives me that amber color to show me that the car is actually heating up. If I wanted to set the car to the very highest temperature and have the demister and the defogger and everything on, I tap on the little icon on the right, and all of a sudden, the car is going to be heating up to the highest temperature that it can, which is 28 degrees Celsius. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to turn it off. And it drops back down to 24, which is what I'd set it to. At the same time, I'd like to heat up my seats. I tap on the seat heater. Peter, set it to 1 or 2. Set Janine to 1. Actually, I normally set it on 3 because it takes a long time. And Janine sets it on 1. Let's just turn it off for now. There we go. And turn off. Done. In fact, let me turn the climate off right now. We don't need it. There it is. And if I want to vent the windows, well, they're closed at the moment. I can tap vent, and they're open. I can tap close, and the windows are closed. How do I know? I trust it. I tried it yesterday 10 times. It works. Dismiss. And then, of course, the location I've talked about already. If the car was traveling, it updates every 4 seconds, so you will be able to see where your car is, and it will show you the speed, and it shows you the odometer reading as well. Number 5, settings. This is scary. For the first time you look at it, it's overwhelming, because just look as I scroll. It's crazy. There's so much in there. I want to highlight just a few things. First of all, there's an FAQ, and you've got numbers of questions that you can tap on and find answers to. And I suggest before you ask for support, go and read the FAQs. Ramin has said that basically if he's awake and near his phone, he will reply often within minutes. But what the heck? We don't want to sit here bothering the guy while he's trying to develop new features for his app. So read the FAQ before you call for support, which is the second choice. Scroll down a little bit. More Tesla apps. He has developed other apps, and you can see them here, and good to go and take a look at what he has. If you have any money left after you've purchased the main app. Then, what's new? Well, he shows you the different features that have been added to the Watch app. And what's new in the Phone app. So there's a little record of what he's been doing, and that's recently, of course. Smart features. Man, do I enjoy this section. So, for example, smart heating or cooling. Let's tap on it. Let's add a new schedule. And let's say that on Saturday and on Sunday, I want the temperature to be, let's delete that, 24 degrees. No, not 240, 24. There we go. And I want it to be turned on in the morning at 7 a.m. Okay, so let's check this. On Saturday and Sunday, at 7 a.m. in the morning, turn on the car's climate control till it reaches 24 degrees and maintain that. It's fantastic. The app turns off climate 20 minutes after the scheduled time. So I could save it, but I don't want to, so I'm going to go out. But how about this? There's another smart feature, smart battery prep. Let's take a look at how this works. So I'm going to say at 5 a.m. At 5 a.m. tomorrow, Thursday, execute this once. I'm going to tap on that button at the bottom. Execute this command once. On Thursday, at 5, set the limit to 90. Now, will that start the car charging? Yes, it will, because it was set up to a max of 85. Why do I want to set it to 90? I'm asking the car to add a 5% charge to the battery. Why? To heat the battery up. Why? Because if I start with a cold battery, I don't have regen. Also, I have very inefficient driving. We've talked about the connection between temperature and efficiency. The higher the temperature, the higher your efficiency, within limits, of course. So if we can start the car charging at 5 a.m. and it goes up an extra 5% from the 85% that it reached, it will be conditioning the battery. It will be preheating it. And when I start driving at 7 a.m., which is when I intend to leave, it will change to say, decrease the charge limit back to 85, and it will put the charge maximum back to 85, which is fine. And it will turn off the charging. But the battery will be very, very well conditioned. It'll be warm. It'll be ready to give me immediate regenerative braking without that little message that we are familiar with seeing where it says, regenerative braking will be limited until the battery is warm. So that's very, very cool. So I don't really need to do that, so I'm going to turn it off. I'm not going to save it. And you can see here that there is smart heating or cooling, smart battery prep, smart sentry mode, smart charging. All of these can be set for the car to do it the way that you want it to be done. Now we get to a section called Tools, and the only one I want to mention here is Siri shortcuts. Because if you take a look, all of those commands can be set as Siri commands, and when you say it, Siri uses the Stats app to set something. So for example, if I wanted to unlock the charge port, here it is. Add this command to Siri. When I say open or unlock the charge port, the Stats app will open the charge port for me. Now I can change that phrase, but actually let me take out the word unlock because I never say that. Open charge port. And what will Siri do? We'll use the Stats app to open the charge port. I'm going to add that to Siri. How about activating maximum defrost? Add this phrase. Activate maximum defrost, and it will do it. I'm going to add that to... You already have a shortcut named that because you did it yesterday, Peter, and clearly you've forgotten. Okay, so I won't add it. You get the idea. Lots of commands we can add to Siri. Here's a really important section. It's called energy cost. This is what allows the app to make all of these calculations to determine how much money you've been saving, what is your liters per 100K equivalent, price in kilowatts. Well, at home, when I'm charging, it's 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Supercharger price, well, in BC, something like 48. If we take tier 1, tier 2, average them out, it comes to maybe 48 cents. Currency unit in North America, dollars. Gas efficiency unit, I'm not in America, so miles per gallon doesn't help me. Liters per 100K, that's how we roll here in Canada. Cost of gas per liter, at the moment, somewhere around $1.59 Canadian, that's iniquitous. Liters per 100K. Well, here again, I've taken a mid-sized sedan, I've taken one with good consumption figures, and it is 9.8 liters of gasoline to travel 100 kilometers in a mid-size efficient vehicle. That's it. Put those details in, work them out for your area, and Stats app will be able to give you all of the calculations and give you that lovely figure that tells you how much you are saving. Finally, notifications. Listen, turn them all on. For example, notify me when the door is open. Notify me if the car is unlocked. If the car is unlocked and unoccupied, should the Stats app just lock it for you? Yeah. All of these notifications tend to be helpful. I turn them all on, but look at this one here. Charging reminder. You can ask the Stats app to send you a notification when you go below a certain percentage. I should actually say 35%. So anytime that my car goes below 35%, and it's after midnight, anytime after midnight, if the car is at my charging location down here where I live, I will receive a reminder if the car is parked at home at the specified time and it's unplugged and the battery level is below. So it will tell me, Peter, get out of bed, go down to the car, plug it in and charge it, because you should never let your car go below 35%. You might have to do a long trip all of a sudden. And now it will always notify me and remind me. We have a category called miscellaneous, and it's just got some useful things, but one of the switches I turned on was convert miles per gallon to liters per 100K. Share your stats. Folks, here it is. Please do it. If it says share your stats anonymously to create statistical comparisons or distributions, let's do it. We're here to help each other. We're here to find out whether our car is behaving as it should do. And there's no better way than by asking thousands of others how their car is behaving, and we can do it through the app. I can also change the icon. What the heck? People don't need that much choice. I like the green one. So let's ignore the other icons and we'll stick with the one that they gave us. But you can change your theme. For example, there's the default theme. There's Dracula, electric Ray, Spice, Tango, wow. Trinidad, whatever that is. Winter. Okay, I'm going to go back up and I'm going to put it on. I kind of like that. Spice. All right, well, you go choose your theme, have the one that you like. Don't log out. Let me say a word about the logging. You're going to log into the app, but you're not logging into the developer, to Rabin. He doesn't even save your email. He doesn't even get it, in fact. What are you doing? You're signing in with Tesla. Look, I could do no better than have Ramin explain it to you. And again, thanks to Mike from Frugal Tesla Guy. So here's Ramin himself telling you about the purpose of logging in.
And although you should always be careful who you give those credentials to, Ramin explains why it's perfectly safe in this case.
Passwords and then the email even are not sent to any server. They are stored encrypted in the Apple keychain on the device only. And I want to stay as far possible away from the user credential, and because there's no reason for me to have it. So the app works with tokens that it generates once you have the credentials, and tokens are sent to Tesla for subsequent transactions, and your credentials are maintained on your device only, and even then they're stored in the apps in the device's keychain. Keychain is this thing that iOS has, is heavily encrypted. Nobody can access it. Even Apple cannot access it if they don't have your credentials to unlock your phone.
And finally, tab number 6, links, useful links. Pleased to see that the route mapper, the one that's called abetterrouteplanner.com, which is the one that Zach and Jesse absolutely love and recommend all the time. It has some great advantages like being able to do multiple steps on a trip, insert additional stopovers, stuff like that. But there are other links as well. I'm very thrilled to see that Trevor Page and Tesla Owners Online has a link over here. There are ones at the end like Electrek News, which is something we all read from time to time. Look at the last one. Tesla Roadside Assistance, the one we all hope we'll never, ever have to use. So, folks, that is it. I mean, I haven't even plumbed the depths of the app yet, and I need to run this for many days, but I'm committing now. Give me 2 or 3 weeks of using this, discovering more about it, and seeing what it tells me about my car and the comparisons. And I'm going to come back, and I'm going to reach out to Ramin and ask him if he'd be happy to do a Zoom session, something like the one that he did with Mike, where I can ask him questions that arise out of my use of the app. And we'll turn that into an upload and share it with all of you guys. So, am I sold? I think you've already seen that. This gets the Model 3 man thumbs up. I realize that it costs money to buy it, but I appreciate the amount of work that's gone into developing it. I appreciate that he's not charging a monthly subscription, because that can amount to a lot of money over time. So he set the price realistically. It's higher than anything else, but it is absolutely worth it. 2 announcements coming up in the next episode. One is a sponsor for this channel. Now, one of the things I really hate about my favorite YouTubers is when they sell out to the man and they get sponsored by some company you really couldn't care about. But if they're sponsoring your channel, you've suddenly got to love them. And they're the most wonderful, wonderful company ever. I can promise you that I'm not selling out. And you'll be quite surprised at who the sponsor is for this channel. Thank you again. I love my subscribers. I love the guys that read this channel. You've been so helpful in the past. My target for my MacBook Pro that we'll be getting for the channel is June the 7th is the date it should be announced, and I think it becomes available late in July. And so any donations to our PayPal link are going to that fund. if you're donating to the channel, know what you're giving to, and thank you for your contribution. Those of you who are buying a new Tesla, by the way, do use my Tesla referral code. It gets you 1,000 miles or 1,500K of free supercharging once you take ownership of the car. And that will introduce you to the wonderful experience of the Tesla Supercharger Network. So until the next episode, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Go off to the App Store, get this app, and you will thank me. Cheers for now.